What's up, guys? It's KB. Make sure you subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel. Click the bell icon down below so you don't miss a single video from us. And thanks for tuning in to another video from Underground Sports Philadelphia. Now let's get into it.
Philadelphia, baby, you're going to love it. Best sports fans in the world. Actually, the worst, but that's what makes them the best.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome into episode number 666 of Underground Sports Philadelphia, presented by the City of Vineland. It's KB coming at you solo dolo, because that's exactly what this podcast has become. It's my own solo Philly sports show until further notice. So I appreciate everybody who rocks out with the show and has supported with this just like off-kilter trying to play catch-up on a lot of things. We had the Olympics going on, a whole bunch of stuff going on personally for me, so we are playing a little bit of catch-up here, but these one-off episodes that don't have direct news related to them, per se, have been a lot of fun. But we are going to talk a very special episode topic on this one. But before we get into all of that, make sure you guys are following us on the socials at Underground PHI. That's on all the social medias, or just search Underground Sports Philadelphia. We'll pop up everywhere. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Threads, LinkedIn, Twitch, all of that good stuff. We're on all of it. You can follow me on Twitter at KBIZZL311 and KBIZZLE11 on Instagram and Threads. Subscribe to the pod. Subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia podcast feed, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts in audio form. Leave a 5-star rating and review. It goes a long way for helping the show continue to grow. Helps more people find Underground Sports Philadelphia and our entire network of shows. And, of course, subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel, youtube.com/@UndergroundSportsPhiladelphia. That is where you get full video episodes of every show on this network, including this show, twice a week. Is the typical schedule. Once we get back on track, I promise that's what it will be. But subscribe to the YouTube. Leave a like on the video. Ring the bell icon so you don't miss out on any future videos. And, of course, leave a comment down below your thoughts on everything I talk about on this episode. And this show is proudly presented by the City of Vineland, and the City of Vineland Municipal Calendar features city-organized, city-sponsored, and city-affiliated events that are of public interest. The calendar, which is accessible at vinelandcity.org, is a good way for residents and visitors to build awareness, remain engaged with city government, and participate in local events. You can also follow the City of Vineland on social media via their Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube pages. And through these tools, you can stay connected to the community and get important announcements about programs and services offered by the city. Vineland, New Jersey, where it's always growing season. And big thank you to Security 21 Security Systems and Paul J. Gillespie Incorporated for their continued support of this podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, because we've been playing catch-up, it's something that I've wanted to talk about for quite a bit now, but just have not been able to, and that is the number one catalyst as to why this whole thing got started when it did, and that is Philadelphia Eagles legend Nick Foles has announced his retirement a couple weeks ago. He will be honored on Monday Night Football, September 16th, the Eagles home opener. He'll be honored for his retirement. Then, Nick Foles, ladies and gentlemen, is one of the most fascinating athletes of my lifetime. Number one, he was part of one of the greatest Andy Reid draft classes in terms of success, sustainability, and contributors to the Super Bowl champion Eagles. I'm pulling up that entire draft right now so everybody gets a clear-cut look into who the Eagles drafted in 2012, which included Nick Foles. Let's also not forget that the Eagles allegedly, down the line this came out, they allegedly wanted Russell Wilson over Nick Foles. Russell Wilson gets picked up by the Seahawks in the draft, so then the Eagles go and draft Nick Foles. The connections that Nick Foles has to so many parts of this organization is crazy, but it starts with the 2012 NFL draft that included the likes of Fletcher Cox, Michael Kendricks, Vinnie Curry, Nick Foles, Brandon Boykin, one of my favorites, Dennis Kelly, Marvin McNutt, Brandon Washington, and Bryce Brown. guys, that is one of the best Andy Reid draft classes of all time, and it was his final draft class. That's the crazy thing. The illustrious 2012 draft, where Nick Foles comes into the fold in 2012. Third round pick 88 in that draft. He goes on to play for 11 seasons in the NFL. Nick Foles ends up playing for a number of teams, including 2 stints with the Eagles. Goes on to play for the St. Louis Rams, the Kansas City Chiefs, the Jaguars, the Bears, and the Colts. Here's the thing. Going through Nick Foles' NFL career, 2012, comes in, and plays a little bit there for the Eagles and takes over from Michael Vick, and then inevitably gets injured in the season finale for the Eagles. 2013 rolls around. It's Chip Kelly's first year, and Foles ends up being the backup to Michael Vick, comes in, and I was at this game that I'm going to talk about. It was against the Chicago Bears 2 days before Christmas, and Nick Foles throws a metric crap ton of touchdowns. Like, the Eagles won 54-11. Nick Foles had a passer rating over 100, completed 84% of his passes, which is a career high. And that ended up helping the Eagles go on to win their first division title in 3 years because they beat the Cowboys in the season finale. Nick Foles had a season of 27 touchdowns and 2 interceptions in 2013, just behind Tom Brady's record of 28-2 that was set in 2016. It is the second best touchdown to interception ratio in NFL history. NFL history. And then after that season, Chip Kelly ends up breaking up that Eagles team. Foles gets going with somebody like Jordan Matthews, Zach Ertz, Darren Sproles. Keeps things rolling in 2014. The Eagles end up losing in the playoffs to the New Orleans Saints. And Foles ended up on injured reserve with a broken collarbone. And in 2015, Chip Kelly trades Nick Foles to the Rams for a 2015 4th-round pick, a 2016 2nd-round pick in exchange for Sam Bradford, and a 2015 5th-round pick. So Foles gone. That kicks off a weird era of Eagles football that inevitably gets Chip Kelly fired. But then the Eagles are able to go and trade Sam Bradford to get a first-round pick that ends up being Carson Wentz. And the Rams drafted Jared Goff in 2016. Foles got released in 2016. He contemplated retirement, goes and signs with the Kansas City Chiefs in 2016 on a 1-year deal. Goes back with Andy Reid, and, Foles won a game over the Jaguars, a future team of his. And then in March 2017, Foles had his second-year option decline, making him a free agent, and then Nick Foles heroically returns, signing a 2-year contract with the Philadelphia Eagles to back up Carson Wentz. And 2017 rolls around, and, Wentz gets hurt against the Rams, tears his ACL, and Nick Foles and Doug Peterson go on the run of a lifetime. And the Eagles take down the Atlanta Falcons, they take down the Minnesota Vikings, and inevitably pull off one of the greatest plays in Super Bowl history with the Philly Special, and take down Tom Brady and the New England Patriots, and the Eagles get their revenge for Super Bowl 39, winning 41-33, the first Super Bowl in Eagles history. Foles went 28 of 43 for 373 yards, 3 passing touchdowns, caught the Philly Special touchdown, was named the MVP, and, goes on to have a very solid 2018, for the Eagles because Wentz had not been cleared yet to play until December. I'm sorry, he returned in week 3. And then in December, Wentz would sit out due to a back injury, and Foles steps back in, and it felt like we were going on another magical run. And then the Eagles were going to pick up Foles' $20 million option for 2019. He voided the option, became a free agent, went and signed a 4-year, $88 million contract with the Jaguars that could pay up to $102 million with incentives. He gets hurt. Doesn't really ever do anything with the Jags, ends up going to the Bears, plays a little bit there, ends up going to the Colts, plays a little bit there, and has now retired. But looking at Nick Foles, he is such an interesting player in the sense that anywhere he went that was not Philadelphia, it just felt like something was missing. And it's almost like Nick Foles needed Philadelphia just as much as in the times that he was here, Philadelphia needed Nick Foles. It was the perfect marriage of a quarterback and a city for the times that they needed each other. And Nick Foles is a legend in Philadelphia. There's a statue at Lincoln Financial Field with Nick Foles and Doug Peterson, two iconic figures in Philadelphia Eagles history. Oddly enough, Doug Peterson, a backup quarterback as well with the Eagles, and wins the Super Bowl with said backup quarterback in Nick Foles. But you think about the ripple effects that everything had, where you had Nick Foles, you trade him. The trade inevitably nets you your, at the time, you thought, franchise quarterback. He gets hurt, and Foles signed here in free agency after spending a year in Kansas City with his former head coach, who is now the coach there, convinces him to not retire, and then Nick Foles comes to Philadelphia and leads the team to their first Super Bowl championship in franchise history. The connections and the lineage of Nick Foles is it's like a Disney movie. It is truly fascinating how every little bit of Nick Foles' career affected so many franchises, affected so much that happened in the history of the NFL. Like, I am a big, and I'm not saying that he's going to end up there, but I am a big proponent of Hall of Fame being something that tells the story of yours, of whatever subject matter your museum is. That's what a Hall of Fame is. It's a museum. You can't tell the history and the story of the NFL without Nick Foles. And that's crazy to think about, because when you draft a third-round quarterback, you're not expecting that to be the case. You're expecting a third-round quarterback to come in, kind of learn the ropes from whoever your quarterback is, and maybe they become a starter for you while you inevitably search for what your franchise guy can be. The turnout for what those two quarterbacks in that 2012 third round, being Russell Wilson and Nick Foles, ended up being, where both those guys end up winning Super Bowls and have illustrious careers with respective franchises, is truly remarkable. And you think about the coaches, like Nick Foles played for Andy Reid, Chip Kelly, and Doug Peterson. And now we'll get celebrated while Nick Sirianni is the head coach. Like 2017, it's crazy that it feels so long ago, but in reality, in the grand scheme of time and everything, it's not exactly that long ago. But the fact that it was Nick Foles, the fact that he had left and then came back and finished his story in Philadelphia, finished what he started here, when he got here. And it makes you think and just value a player of his caliber, where he gave a city his all and made sure that this team was not going to quit. They were not going to fail just because the guy that was leading them at the time got injured and was out. He was there ready to go and was calling plays in the Super Bowl that weren't necessarily planned. And you think about just the way that everyone gravitates towards Nick Foles in the NFL, no matter what team he was with. every single player has something great to say about him in so many different ways. And I just genuinely, like, our podcast is because of Nick Foles. We said we would get our start the Wednesday after the Super Bowl if the Eagles won. If not, we'd wait a little bit and to kind of find a right time to start it. But because the Eagles won, we started immediately with no plan of action. It was like, let's just sit in front of a webcam and talk. And Nick Foles made that happen. And it's crazy. You know, we've had this layout on the podcast for quite some time, if you're watching on YouTube, where there's a bunch of players who have affected this company in a lot of ways, players/entities, where we have a picture of Mike Scott and Bryce Harper and Gritty on the layout. And we have never put a Philadelphia Eagle on there because we weren't sure which one fit. You know, is it Jason Kelsey? Is it Jalen Hurts? Is it, who is it? And the more and more I think about it, it's like, it's Nick Foles should be on the layout. Because without Nick Foles, without that 2017 Eagles team winning it all, who knows when we start? Who knows what the trajectory of this podcast is? And that's why we're going to start something on this show, because I feel like it needs to happen, where 2018 is when we started, so 2025 will be a big-time year for us. Starting on September 9th, which is what day of the week? Let's see the calendar. September 9th is a Monday. Perfect timing. September 9th, every day, we are going to tweet a picture of Nick Foles and add him and say day blank of tweeting at Nick Foles until he comes on the podcast. I think it would be awesome. And to just hear stories and share fandom stories and let him know that he is the reason that this whole thing started when it did, is pretty cool. And I just think Nick Foles is such a true Philadelphia story. And to know that he's going out on his terms now, will be honored by the team. He's retiring as an Eagle, and like the history of the Philadelphia Eagles franchise, there is a Nick Foles chapter 1 and a Nick Foles chapter 2, and they are both exhilarating stories, and they come at such interesting times with the team. And you just wonder, like, what would have happened if Nick Foles had stayed with the Eagles the entire time? Would 2017 have happened? What if Nick Foles was the guy the entire time? And, maybe it's not Chip Kelly here, or maybe it is, and he just says, hey, we're not going to trade for Sam Bradford. Hey, we're not going to blow up the team and trade Deshaun Jackson and trade Jeremy Maclin and trade LaShawn McCoy. And you wonder if that core wins the first Super Bowl, and then 2017 maybe happens and that era wins a Super Bowl. But it is fascinating that it's a guy like Nick Foles, who you would never expect to be your franchise's lone Super Bowl MVP, be the guy who led you to the promised land, and it was all on a whim. It was not supposed to happen that way, but it did, and it was a storybook Super Bowl to have a franchise who, over a decade prior, had lost to Tom Brady and the Patriots in the Super Bowl, and Andy Reid was the coach. And then Nick Foles comes in as the backup quarterback. Your head coach is a protege of Andy Reid. He's from the Andy Reid coaching tree. Was a backup quarterback for the Eagles when he was playing. For Donovan McNabb, who was the quarterback in Super Bowl 39. And you go toe-to-toe, you go pound for pound, band for band with Tom Brady, Bill Belichick, and the Patriots in the Super Bowl. And you win. You come out on top. You had legends of this franchise step up for you. You had legends of the area step up for you. You have Corey Clement being a Super Bowl hero as an undrafted free agent from South Jersey. You had the return of Nick Foles to come and finish what he started when he was drafted in 2012 and played here till 2014. You had Brandon Graham, who was... Brandon Graham wasn't welcome to Philadelphia with open arms. People were pissed that Brandon Graham was drafted by this team early on. And he steps up and slays Tom Brady with that strip sack. You had somebody like Vinny Curry step up, who was part of that 2012 draft, grew up an Eagles fan, was part of that winning team. And the culmination of names, stories, and inevitably a championship was on the back of Nick Foles. That to me is like, it is so unbelievably awesome that you had a quarterback get drafted by this team, goes away for a couple years, comes back, and takes your team to the promised land, puts you on top. I don't care what it is, and it's helped. The Eagles have gone back to another Super Bowl. Sure, they ended up losing and everything, but they've been competitive the past couple of seasons, and that also helps. But nobody, and I mean this genuinely, because it's very different from something like the Cowboys or a team like that, where they haven't won a Super Bowl since the turn of the century. They haven't been to a conference championship game since the turn of the century. The Eagles have won a Super Bowl within the last 10 years. And I will still never stop bragging about the Eagles winning a Super Bowl. Okay? They are never going to take that away from us. And this team is structured and built on that foundation of they got the first one. Now let's go and get more. The Eagles are never going to get tired and complacent and feel like they've done enough. They are going to hunt for more Super Bowls until they are blue in the face and have to yell out, "We did it." Okay? That is the cool part about this franchise. And first, nobody can take your first Super Bowl away from you. That feeling is a feeling I have never felt in my life. It is eerily similar to my first World Series championship experience. And it was the second in Phillies franchise history, and you went an entire generation plus of fandom not knowing what it was like to win a World Series. You went an entire fandom before 2017 not knowing what it was like to win a Super Bowl. And you now understand what that feeling is like, and you have the thirst and the taste for more because of a guy by the name of Nick Foles. And the stories that have come out about Nick Foles that are just hilarious, and the Big Dick Nick mantra, and just how he truly lives rent-free in Tom Brady's head. And just Nick Foles is just so fucking cool, man. And I'll never be able to repay Nick Foles for what he has done for this franchise, for the city, for this fandom, and for my life personally. You know, he is the reason Underground Sports Philadelphia got its start when it did. And Nick Foles, I am forever indebted to you. You're the common man's champion. Nick Foles made it be perceived that no matter who you are, no matter what you do, no matter where you're from, and no matter what struggles and ups and downs you face in your life, you will always find your way back home, and you can always accomplish what you're set out to accomplish. That is the story of Nick Foles. And he is genuinely an all-time Eagle. He is an all-time Eagle. You can't argue it. Like, sure, he's a backup quarterback, everything. Like, what he has done for this franchise in a number of ways. Like, you have 27-2 Nick Foles. You have Super Bowl MVP, Super Bowl champion Nick Foles. You have Nick Foles breaking the glass and coming back in 2018 and almost leading the Eagles back on another playoff run if the ball doesn't go through Alshon Jeffrey's hands. Like, the connections and the story of Nick Foles is so ingrained in Philadelphia, and you can't tell the story of the franchise without him. He is an all-time Eagle, will never have to buy a meal in this city as long as he lives, and the feeling, it's perceived to me, the feeling that as much as we love Nick Foles loves Philadelphia just as much. And that's a special thing. It's a player that you drafted, a homegrown talent, won you the Super Bowl. And I think that's how it was always meant to be with the Eagles. It was always supposed to be a quarterback that this team drafted, that this team was able to develop, and this team, trusted, and they did so much with. And it's like Nick Foles became a superhero whenever he set foot in Philadelphia. And I will forever be grateful for him. My family will forever be grateful for him. This city will forever be grateful for him. And the Philadelphia Eagles certainly will be forever grateful for him. So, Nick Foles, the offer is out there. Starting September 9th, we will be posting, and hopefully it comes to fruition before then, but who knows. But this is the preliminary announcement. Starting September 9th, 2024, we will be tweeting every single day until Nick Foles comes on the podcast. We'll be tweeting a photo of him. This is inspired by Bustin' with the Boys, trying to get Rich Eisen on the bus. So shout out to them. But this is the journey to get Nick Foles on the Underground Sports Philadelphia podcast and on the network. September 9th, we are tweeting a photo every single day of Nick Foles to come on the podcast until he does. Congratulations on one hell of a career, Nick Foles. You finished your career. Like, let's take a look at the career numbers, too. Just an unbelievable 71 games, 29-29, a 62.4% completion percentage, over 14,000 yards, 82 touchdowns, 47 interceptions. And in an Eagles uniform, goes 21-11, 62.9% completion percentage, 8,703 of his 14,000-plus yards came in an Eagles uniform, 58 touchdowns, 23 interceptions. I mean, that's all-time Eagles stuff. 11 comebacks, 13 game-winning drives in his career, a Super Bowl MVP, a Super Bowl champion, and an all-time Eagle. Congratulations on one hell of a career, Nick Foles. You are genuinely the man, and very happy that you're the one that got it done for the Philadelphia Eagles back in 2017, 2018. Appreciate you, big dog. And hopefully we'll get you on this podcast sooner rather than later, because I think that needs to happen for sure. Make sure you guys are following us on the socials at Underground PHI, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Threads, Facebook, LinkedIn, the whole 9 yards. Follow us on the socials. Subscribe to the podcast feed, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. Please subscribe to the show. Leave a 5-star review. It really helps the show continue to grow. Subscribe, like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Like and subscribe. Underground Sports Philadelphia on YouTube. Leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell icon, leave a comment, your favorite Nick Foles memory, whether it's the Super Bowl or something else. Whether you were at that 6-touchdown game against the Chicago Bears like I was when we won 54-11. Let me know your favorite Nick Foles memory, on or off the field too. Leave that in the YouTube comment section. And of course, guys, this show is presented by the City of Vineland, and whether you're a company looking to expand, relocate, or you're a new business startup, selecting the right location is critical to your success. Vineland, New Jersey offers both an affordable business location and an excellent quality of life. The city's economic development department is a one-stop source for moving your project through the development and approval process, and their goal is to make this process as smooth as possible and to provide the fastest turnaround times in the region. If you're considering potential locations for your operation, contact the Vineland Economic Development Team at 856-794-4100. That's 856-794-4100. Vineland, New Jersey, where it's always growing season. And big thank you to Security 21 Security Systems and Paul J. Gillespie Incorporated for their continued support of this podcast. This has been episode number 666, the number of the beast. And that beast is Nick Foles, because he's a goddamn beast in an Eagles uniform. But this has been episode number 666 of Underground Sports Philadelphia. I'm your boy KB. See you on the next one. Appreciate the support. Love y'all. And until then, I'm getting the heck up out of here and signing off. Peace.